Hi, it's Miguel, and this is part 3 of the devlog, specifically Dungeon Design Part 2. I'll be going over the puzzles of the game, the challenge room, which is the main major puzzle of the game, of the dungeon, and the boss seal, which you will need to fight the boss, right? So, originally, when I had started going over the puzzles, I thought of wanted like electrical engineering puzzles, but very basic, the kind of stuff that you could you could learn how to solve those puzzles through little tips, and those tips would be given out at those BNC boxes, which are essentially just like these orange boxes that you can go to, and sometimes they're well guarded. The more well guarded they are, it's kind of a cue to the player that that's an important tip. That's very crucial. And so all of these tips are to help you solve the puzzles, and so the player doesn't have to just remember them. They're actually saved to the player's diary system, which can be accessed through the pause menu. So I'm still working on that, mind you. However, I'm thinking I'll probably have it ready by next Saturday. And so the the tips that you get on solving puzzles will be like, it'll tell you how to deal with an enemy. Puzzles will deal with typical circuit troubleshooting, but in a very basic way. And so you gotta go and essentially fix a circuit, or you gotta clear the room of an enemy in a certain order or in a certain way, or you need to use the enemy in some way, which is what you'll see in the Wasp dungeon. Is that when you enter here, you'll see I'm playing horribly, but that orange box right there is a BNC box, and that enemy is actually not supposed to be able to get out until you fire enough of the statues for them to slip out. So I'll have to go back on that. But the BNC box is so crucial because this gives you a little tip. So I'm still working with the actual dialogue box timing. I just wanted to really work on the challenge room, to make sure that that was working before getting too excited and working on these little details here. So pretty much here I'm just running around, and these are the kind of tips you'll get. So sometimes you need the help of the enemy to advance further. Think like a fox. So it kind of tells you what to do, but it's not just completely clear. You sort of have to think about it. Are they talking about this enemy? So what you can do to get rid of an enemy, since you have no weapon to fire at them with, you can try to outrun them. And so you see the chasing enemy is now out of range, so they can't chase us. But when you go in here, this is one of the minor puzzles. So there's a minor puzzle and a major puzzle. The major puzzle will be in a dungeon's challenge room. Meanwhile, its minor puzzle is scattered somewhere in the 16 rooms. And so here what I'm doing is you need the help of this wasp with its stinger shot. The gray projectile that it's throwing, they're like little stingers. And so what you need to do is to get that enemy to shoot each of these elemental door locks 5 times. And so once they're shot 5 times, they blink green. And I'm going to be adding like a glow effect there so it seems brighter. More, easy for the player to notate. So here, pretty much like as soon as you're out of the range of the chasing ones, you're fine. But as soon as you're back within range of them, they're just relentless. And so there you are again. And so here I'm just taking hits because it seems easier for me to just take the hit. See, the puzzle's been solved, and you get the fire shot for your troubles. And so now you can burn the crap out of any enemy in this dungeon. And so I almost died there just trying to get the tip that I needed to solve this puzzle. And what you can do is you can break all of these statues for health to kind of get yourself back up. And so I did this because I've always liked the puzzle and exploration mechanic in dungeon games. So I thought it'd be pretty cool to have the player be able to decide if they'd rather fight a little more or solve the puzzles in that dungeon, but they could complete the dungeon as they like. And so these enemies won't respawn kind of thing after they've been defeated. So the the best thing to do is, if you're falling low on health, go and get some of these yellow orbs, which are just stray currents, just currents that are just running through the circuit loose, essentially. And so you don't have to pick them up, they stay there, but you can always come back. Oh, I left a bunch of stray currents that I didn't pick up in this one room. You can go back to them, they're still going to be there. And so this, what you first saw was the energy door, and that's the door that will pop up and lock you in a room. And these are the puzzle pieces you'll find in the Wasp Dungeon Challenge Room. This is similar to the major puzzles you'll find in the challenge rooms of dungeons. And so here there's a resistor, there's a potentiometer, a switch. A potentiometer, for anyone who doesn't know, is just essentially like a volume dial. There's an LED, there is a resistor, and so all of these parts, the icons that you see there, those are just electrical engineering icons. And so what you want to do is you want to solve that puzzle within those 30 seconds, because you also will get a bonus for that. I'm still kind of messing with what the bonus could be, but definitely something that will incentivize the player to really think about the puzzle and really try to crack it in those 30 seconds. So that's why you want those puzzle tips from the BNC boxes. That's why I almost got killed to get that tip that got me the fire shot that will help me now in this puzzle and the rest of the dungeon. So if for some reason, in the event that you're able to actually solve it in 30 seconds, you have one chance. You can make one selection. So if you choose wrong and you still have time left, doesn't matter. It's over. So this says, welcome to the Wasp Challenge Room. Solve the puzzle to earn the boss seal. If an LED circuit is drawing too much current, it will, essentially what it says, it will drain the battery too quickly. What part can you add in to make the battery last longer? And so the basic answer to this circuit is the resistor. Now, slick people out there will say the potentiometer. Of course, you can use that too. And that's my mistake for adding that in here. So that's why in the newer clip, I actually took out the potentiometer and switched it with an LED. It's been a long time since I messed with little circuit parts. But so that's what happens if you do succeed, right? You get the boss seal, as you see Sparky holding it up here. But if you fail to solve the puzzle in time or make the wrong selection, you'll have to survive a horde. Each wave increases in difficulty. Survive and you'll receive the boss seal. So I wanted to make it in a way where if you don't like puzzle solving, you don't have to worry about the whole, oh, but I failed the puzzle. You maybe will fail on purpose. So for those that prefer more fighting, they can just automatically fail the major puzzle in the challenge room, and then the horde will begin. So here's a little look at the horde. So it was pretty fun. Originally, when I started working on the horde, I didn't have much issues getting this part down, the whole puzzle down, but the horde itself was hugely problematic. So originally I wanted this thing where you would enter the challenge room, the players locked in there after making enough headway into the room, and then once you make a selection, if it's the wrong one, the enemies start popping out. Now here you see they're popping out one by one. It seems like they're just coming out of nowhere. I'm gonna add a enemy spawn animation, which I showed in the previous video, or I think I'm showing in this video. And yeah, it is in this video. At the end you'll see a little animation I've worked on. It's kind of like a little, it's supposed to be like a little bit of electricity, kind of like the Terminator thing where they go back in time and you see all that electricity in a big white flash, kind of like that. And so you see there's a break here in between these waves. Okay, that wasn't happening. So what's happening is I had 8 spawn points in different layouts, right? Each wave had its own layout. And so what was happening is that I was going to call a random enemy to be chosen. So it could be one of these shooting enemies, one of the larger enemies that patrols, chases, and shoots, or one of these chasing enemies. The problem I was having is the same gate issue that I was having on the random dungeon generation is that when I try to instantiate one instance of an object after getting the random number, it it would instantiate too many. So what I did was I got rid of the entire randomness of it and I handcrafted each wave, which I actually found to be a lot more fun than handcrafting the entire dungeon level itself, which I don't like. I second guess myself way too much. I start wondering, oh yeah, but is this just another boring room, to shoot at? Is there any kind of design thinking that went into arranging these enemies in a certain way? So I'm still also working, like as you can see, when Sparky gets hurt, he just kind of stays floating and blinking in red. So I gotta shorten the animation time of his hurt animation, and that kind of goes the same for like all the animations here. I gotta speed them up a bit. I had them just a bit more, I guess, spread out so that I can properly see that they were all kind of cycling right. And so if you survive the horde here, the whole thing is like, even when you get hit, I didn't want like a knockback. So if you do come into contact with these enemies, you don't automatically get hit, but I will be changing that. I will make it so that any contact with them does do some damage to Sparky. So as you can see, while these enemies can be pretty easily defeated with your fire shot, because there's so many, the player quickly goes from, oh, I'm extremely powerful going into this challenge room, I got the fire shot, to more so going on a sort of war path, ready to deal all this crazy damage. But it doesn't work out that way, right? There's more of a challenge there, and so that was really cool. So this is when the Sparky diagnostics program loads up, kind of the Kevin Flynn thing that I was talking about in the last video. And then you saw the little white flash animation. That'll be for when enemies spawn into a room. And then this last screen is the game over screen that the player will see once Sparky's been identified in the circuit and subsequently shut down. Much like the clue program in Tron. So that's pretty much everything. And so what's next that I'll be working on from here is gonna be I'm trying to get one dungeon to be fully playable, and I'm getting pretty damn close now. What's remaining to get that full experience, since this is the formula that I'll be using going forward. Challenge rooms, puzzles, enemies, rooms with seemingly no enemies, and as soon as you walk around the room, enemies start popping up. And so some of the things that are still missing that I want to do before going to the next dungeon, I haven't even done enemy artwork for some of the other dungeons. There's some bits and pieces, but not much else. And so the things that I have remaining would be doing the boss room, the boss itself, the layout of the room, the energy doors that will lock you in the boss room so you can't get back out, and will lock you in the boss room so you can't escape through the back exit and go to the reward room and just leave the circuit without fighting the boss. So I got to do the boss room. I have to do the artwork for the boss enemy in the Wasp dungeon, which will be the Wasp Queen. And so I gotta do all of those animations. I have the behavior, how I want the Wasp Queen to behave. Essentially, she'll be moving, buzzing around in like a figure 8, and she'll try to shoot you, sting you, crush you. She'll spawn enemies and launch them, pretty much, send them out to you. So that's the boss room. The next thing I have to do as well is finish the game over screen, which is what I'm working on right now. I have the buttons that will pop up that will let you either replay that dungeon. You can go and bring up the dungeon select screen, or if you'd rather just save and quit, it will take you back to the hobby shop and save your game there. I have it so that it's not possible, I don't want it to be possible to save in the dungeons. I like that aspect of Link's Awakening, that you can't just save in the dungeon. You'll end up in the very beginning again when you load back up. The next thing that I also got to work on to get this one dungeon going is gonna be the input output sequences for Sparky. So that'll be when there's every circuit has an input, every circuit has an output, right? Power going in, power going out. So those are the doorways for Sparky to go into a circuit and come out of a circuit. So I'll have a little like animation sequence of him of Sparky being dropped into a circuit or being extracted out of one. And so I thought it'd be cool maybe to like have him disassemble kind of thing, kind of maybe something like that. I'm not too sure yet. Maybe just have his alpha, the alpha channel reduced and really just raise that down so he's almost like completely transparent. I don't know, but I'll keep working on that. The next thing is also the diary system. As I was saying, these are the tips that the player is able to keep and is able to refer back to at any time to solve dungeon puzzles, to deal with a particular enemy, or a certain obstacle. And then it's game audio. So I haven't worked on any music, any audio effects. I have a lot of instruments that I can use and have Fruity Loops. I've been looking at videos to make more chiptune music. So I have some ideas for the music. So I'll be sharing that probably in the next coming weeks. Once I'm actually gotten to that point. I wanted to leave the music last originally, and I got so caught up in trying to make this project actually fun to play test that I just kind of forgot about the game music for a while. And I was listening to the Game Dev Underground's video. I forgot with who the interview's with, but it's with a composer. And so his tip was that the music, in his opinion, the music should be done at the same time as the artwork. So now that I'm still finalizing that artwork, it'll probably be a good time to start messing with chiptune sounds. So look out for that. So thank you for listening. Thank you for stopping by. This will conclude the dungeon design portion of Sparky Co. And at this point, I'm not too sure when I'll have the next devlog video up. Probably next Saturday, next weekend. I'll see whenever I got these things that I'm working on ready to show, I'll immediately have this video up. All right. So thank you for listening. Have a great one. I'll see you on Twitter or on YouTube. You can contact me there. My DMs are always open. I'm going to respond to a couple comments that I saw on YouTube this morning. So that's super, super cool. Including a great tip there from Neat Games. So thank you very much. I'll definitely be responding to that and all that good stuff. So thank you. You can hit me up on Twitter, like I said, at tertiary map. Have a great one and stay safe.